Morning. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about sharing your child's diagnosis. I'm Emily Brandt, one of the developmental pediatricians here at the Anna Shaw Children's Institute. So first, let's think about why would we talk with your child? And that's a hard question that some families will wrestle with. One thing that I like to think about is think back to your emotions. How did it feel when you were wondering why things were going the way they were? Why was your child doing something so well and struggling with others? And remember how that uncertainty felt? Then what emotions did you experience when you heard the diagnosis? Some families talk about relief that they're no longer dealing with the unknown. Some families talk about sadness. They're looking at changing the way they thought their child's life would develop. Some families talk about worry, wondering about what the future might hold. And others talk about determination, having a clearer understanding of how they can help moving forward. And frankly, a lot of people experience all of those emotions in a mix all at once. Now, individuals who were diagnosed as adults and who didn't understand their diagnosis when they were children will sometimes tell us information about what they wish they had known and how it might have changed them. And there was a study in 2019 where a group of individuals described just that. So I'm going to let you hear their feelings in their own words. And so that we can understand a little bit more about how it might feel not to know. So Brenda said, I had difficulty with changes to routines or unexpected situations. Even if the changes were minor, I found it difficult to deal with them. Paul said the social thing was a problem. I couldn't do birthday parties, and I couldn't really behave with other kids for more than about 10 minutes. David said, I was completely isolated and always in trouble, pretty strongly disliked by a lot of people. I tried to be friends with people and just got rejected. I don't know why. And Mary said, I always knew I was different. I always knew I didn't fit in, but I didn't realize what it was and the label that went with it. Now, that can have an impact on how they felt. And these adults then explained some of the feelings that went along with that confusion. David said, I just thought I was really bad and didn't really fit in, and people didn't like me, and I couldn't really understand why. I suppose I thought I was different, but wrong, but didn't understand what was wrong. Brenda said, I thought maybe I'm a bad person. I've got a horrible personality. There's something people don't like about me, and I didn't understand why. Robert said, I was starting to get comfortable with the idea that I don't fit in, but I didn't think of Asperger's. I just thought I was naughty by nature. Then they described the benefits of finally knowing their diagnosis. Brenda said it really was like a sort of eureka moment. It was kind of a relief, and it wasn't my fault. And that was one of the biggest things that I realized it wasn't my fault. Deborah said, again, a relief, because for years and years, everything had been put down to anxiety and depression. Everything for the last 30 years made sense, and it all just fitted in and made sense. David said, I don't know, it's like I have explanations for things now I never used to have. And Paul said, being aware of it has enabled me to plan and prepare for situations, knowing how I may react and how to avoid difficult situations, so I can keep to places and activities I am comfortable with. So really our goal is to help address some of those feelings from the beginning, recognizing what those feelings may be and helping to plan for those feelings will help guide the discussion that you choose to have. So let's think about what emotions you may have seen in your child. You may have felt frustrated. Why do I have to leave school for therapy so often? Sadness. Why do other children pick on me? Curiosity. Why am I having all these tests with the doctors? Some feel embarrassment. Why are some things so hard for me? Others might feel alarm. Is it true what the other kids say about me? Some might be confused. Did I do something wrong to deserve this? Others might feel really lonely. Why am I the only one struggling? The biggest reason to have the talk is to address these thoughts, to help them answer those questions and not feel like those emotions need to stay with them. So, how do we help answer some of the questions behind those emotions? We're helping to give them understanding. We're giving them a relief that they're no longer dealing with something that's unknown, using. Some kids, understanding helps them be more willing to work hard in therapy. They may even then think of ideas of problems that they want to work on, so that then they're really more motivated to work in therapy. And for others, they can really find role models to look up for. Studies have shown that individuals can feel really proud of belonging to a unique group and culture, and we want to help create that feeling of pride in our kids. So, how do we go about having this conversation? Well, an important part is setting the mood. You'll want to find a way to be relaxed as much as possible in that moment. Children can sense if we're upset, and then they may translate that into feeling that the diagnosis is bad or scary. So you may not be ready to talk about it for a while, but find a time when you can feel more relaxed and at peace with it, so you can just be very calm when you're presenting the information. I always talk with families about thinking about the strengths and challenges of each unique individual. It would really be boring if everyone was good at the same things. We all have different things that we're good at, and we all have different things that are hard for us. So you can think about listing some of yours for your child, things that were easy for you as a child, things that were hard for you as a child. And as you've listed yours, then you can say, well, what might be some that your child thinks of for themselves, things that are hard for them and easy for them. And to prepare, I would always recommend finding some stories or videos of other people with a similar diagnosis that you can point to help them feel like they're part of a bigger group or something special. Groups online, either support groups online or support groups in person, can be a great opportunity for kids to meet other people who have some of the same skills and challenges that they do, and they can feel like they belong. Of course, it's important to adjust your conversation to the level of your child's understanding. Diagnoses come at a lot of different ages and, frankly, different speech levels. So you may have to really simplify the conversation to, we all have differences. Some of us are different heights or hair colors, or some wear glasses, some have allergies. Different kids like different toys. Again, we all have things that we're good at and things that are hard for us. But some children will want to know a lot more details. They may want to know how they know that they have it. What are the signs of something like that? How many children have the same challenges that I do? And, what might be the causes? So be prepared to talk about some of these things, especially if your child is inquisitive and will have a lot of questions. Now, it's important to adjust the conversation to your child's understanding. Ask them if they've ever heard that term or that name before, because they may know things that you don't realize. They may have heard things from other kids or online, and you may have to remove some misunderstandings or help them understand the truth about some things that they may have heard and been confused about. It's important to encourage questions that, frankly, you may not know the answers to all of them. And it's important to say, you know what, we need to look that up. I'll get back to you on that, or we can look it up together, because no one has all the answers. And most likely, you'll have to come back to this conversation many times over the years as your child matures and develops new skills, or as new questions arise. Now, there are some great workbooks that I have here that I'd recommend picking up that have some helpful worksheets in them. And they can I know both of these are specifically geared towards autism, but some of the worksheets in them you can use for a variety of different things. So I'd recommend looking for books specifically about your child's diagnosis and then helping to work through them. So key ideas to think about. Remember, the diagnosis is just a part of who they are. We all have a lot of skills and we all have many parts and many favorite things that make us who we are. So it's important to remember that and share that with your child. It's important to talk about how it's not their fault. It's not something they did wrong or they caught from someone else. Depending on the type of disorder that we're talking about, you could think about where the difference is. Is it in the brain? Is it in the muscles? Often it's not something that can easily be seen, and you'll have to explain that to your child. We can use our strengths and build our skills to help our challenges. Some things may be harder or require a different path, but it's important to help your child feel that they can still follow their dreams. We just may need to find some different ways around challenges. There are lots of tools out there, and you can see just a few of them scattered there on the screen, some great books or videos that you can look at. But think about involving a family member or a teacher or a counselor to help present some of the information, to give your child, especially older children, another person that they can trust to answer questions and talk with about how they're feeling. You may have something fairly simple like pictures or storybooks or TV characters that they can relate to. Or for more mature children, you may be looking at books or websites or videos of other children talking about their experience to help them feel like they can understand better. Now, there are lots of great websites out there that talk about role models with a lot of differences. As you can see there, there's a list from the Stuttering Foundation of America of just a few of the very famous people who stutter. You can also look for different resources, again, of special individuals that your child might be able to relate to, such as the inventor of Pokemon, who was very interested in insects and video games as well. And later he combined these two interests to create pocket monsters or Pokemon. There are great websites like ADDitude Mag that has a lot of different articles. This one you can see there is about famous people with ADHD and talking about Justin Timberlake, Simone Biles, Emma Watson, lots of individuals who are inspiring. And the article says, if you're a young person being called weird or different, I'm here to tell you that your critics do not count. Their words will fade, you will not. They also have another article about with a list of famous people with dyslexia, dyscalculia, and other learning differences, and how that impressive list has, you can see some of the individuals listed there, celebrities ranging from Tom Holland and Jennifer Aniston to Keanu Reeves and Chris Rock, and how they attribute their creative successes in part to the resilience and perseverance they developed to overcome challenges in the classroom and then in life. Now, it's always important to think through beforehand what might some of the challenges be from this diagnosis. And again, one of those books that I referenced earlier has some troubleshooting advice. Just a couple of pieces to think about from that. What if your child tries to use the diagnosis to avoid things? Well, it's important to reinforce that they can still do many things, even if they may need help. Remind them that other people have had the same challenges and worked around them, and look together for books or websites with ideas that might help. Now, your child might feel like, well, I work really hard to fit in, and they're upset to be told that they have a difference. You will probably want to respect their wishes not to share the diagnosis when possible. Now, we'll talk more next month about times when it is important to share that diagnosis with others. But, we can do that in the framework that keeps them as comfortable as possible. And remind them, as adults, everyone needs different skills to do different jobs. And so there's a lot of positives to being different. As they worry about being different, again, we'll talk about what are their strengths and what are their challenges. Maybe make a list of stressful situations and with them plan ways that they might be able to help those situations or handle those situations. Also, it's important to find a special group that your child has an interest in that they can be a part of. And that way they can be part of the group just because of what they enjoy and feel like they can make connections to other children in that way. So, a few key things to remember. The unknown is scary. It would be boring if we were all the same. We all have things that we're good at. We all have things that are hard for us. This is just one part of who your child is. And it's important to find role models and find how other people have used their skills and overcome challenges. And then look for ways to connect with others with similar interests. So I recommend picking a few of the ideas that we've been talking about, thinking about how you would present it to your child, and then maybe practice on a family member or a friend to think through those challenges and to sort of get your wording right. So a quick preview, next month we'll talk about expanding who we talk to about the diagnosis and sharing it with family, teachers, therapists, and others. Thank you so much for joining us.